There's an argument over whether the ICC has jurisdiction here. The Americans, Israelis, and Britain are saying they don't. How does it have jurisdiction when Israel isn't a signatory and Palestine isn't a state?
Well, first of all, one of the things that we've heard today is there was the report by the panel of experts, and one of the things that they've looked at very, very carefully is the question of jurisdiction. Very clearly declares that Palestine is a state for the purpose of the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court, and has stated that the attacks in Gaza, which Karim Khan has referred to as a complete siege of Gaza, is part of an international armed conflict, and the attacks by Hamas in Israel are part of a non-international armed conflict. But if we look at the...
So they can say that even though Palestine isn't an internationally recognised state, for the purposes of the court, it is. That's going to sound odd to people.
Well, no. I mean, effectively what they're saying is they're confirming that Palestine is a state. Now, if we go back to 2015, when Palestine ratified the Rome Statute, and in 2018, when it referred itself to the International Criminal Court, the prosecutor at that time took the rather extraordinary step of asking a panel of the pretrial judges to determine whether the Office of the Prosecutor had jurisdiction over what happened in Palestine. And the panel of judges clearly said that it does.
So does this mean that if an arrest warrant is granted, any country that is a signatory to the ICC would have an obligation to arrest Netanyahu if he sets foot in their country?
Absolutely, yes. It's very clearly what it means.
So this could massively restrict his ability to act as an international leader?
It could and it should, yes.
And, I mean, why wouldn't that arrest warrant be granted? You know, what would be the argument against it, given the prosecutor has applied, saying there's a case to answer?
I mean, it's certainly not going to be a question of jurisdiction, because that question has clearly been answered. And just to be clear, is that the jurisdictional question, Palestine as a state, so any crimes that are committed on the territory of Palestine falls within its jurisdiction, and any crimes committed by a Palestinian national in Israel would also fall within its jurisdiction. So it's not going to be a question of jurisdiction, it's an evidential question. And certainly what we've seen so far, what has been said by Karim Khan today, and what we've been seeing for the last few months, very clearly, there is a very strong evidential basis for those arrest warrants to be granted.
I mean, we have seen in the past arrest warrants not being enforced by South Africa, you know, most recently. So does this end up being any more than grandstanding if nobody arrests them?
Well, I wouldn't say that it's grandstanding. Of course, what Karim Khan has done, and again, he's taken the rather extraordinary step of making this public now, which is something he didn't do with the Putin arrest warrant. But of course, he's hopeful, as we've heard from him today, that this will have more of a preventative effect to prevent further crimes from being committed. We've also heard from Netanyahu, and we've been listening to Israeli leaders with this rhetoric over the past few weeks that nothing will stop them. But of course, what it does mean is that the warrants issued by the International Criminal Court, we have seen what happened in South Africa with al-Bashir. I think it's unlikely that we would see the same. What almost certainly will happen will be European states, predominantly European states who are members of the ICC, will try to deter Netanyahu and his defense minister from actually traveling to those countries, because they would be obligated to arrest.